Welcome to the Spinning Our Gears podcast, Season 4. As a reminder, all views, issues, and opinions discussed on the podcast are those of the hosts and their guests, and they don't reflect that of any agency, city, municipality, state, country, department, county. They don't reflect that of anyone else but us. Please stop suing us. All characters and individuals discussed on the podcast should be considered fictional for entertainment value only. The show is rated E for explicit. If we could make the E bigger, we would, because it is that explicit. Listener discretion is advised. You can catch this show on all the major podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube. And don't forget to go to spinningourgears.com. Check out all the cool stuff we have going on over there. Click that Contact Us link. Let us know who you are, where you're from. If the old www version of the web isn't your cup of tea, well then we're on social media platforms as well, including TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, maybe Twitter? But you will not find us on any sites ending in hub. Now, without any further fanfare or ado, please welcome your hosts, Turk, Swagger, Erica, and Kenyon. And once again, this is the Spinning Our Gears podcast. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Spinning Our Gears podcast. It is the Season 4 premiere of the Spinning Our Gears podcast.
Block is throwing up gang signs, man. I already did it. Swagger's throwing up gang signs.
For those of you watching on YouTube, that was not a gang sign.
That was not.
Swagger's. If you're just listening on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, he just ignore that whole line of commentary because nothing happened. Nothing. We don't want to get fired. Nothing happened. It is me, Turk, and today I've got Swagger with me. Unfortunately, Erica and Kenyon could not make it. We had a prior scheduled episode that we had to reschedule. It was last minute, but we wanted to get this out for you because we already have some cool stuff lined up in the next couple of weeks. But, like I said, we have Swagger here today. What is going on, buddy?
Not much, man. What's new with you?
What, do we announce the you and I connection now or no?
That's up to you. That's all on you, man. You feel free to do it as you please.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if those who don't know, Swagger and I are working together at an agency once again.
It's crazy, man. Full circle.
Isn't it?
All the way around.
Small world, full circle. I am now at Swagger's agency. What went from me being senior officer is now him being my supervisor. So I give him crap every single day.
Yep.
I try to make his life hell every single day. But yeah, we're back together.
It's crazy, dude. It's a small world. It's awesome. Glad to have you. Huge steal, no lie.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, huge steal. So we know you got a lot of experience, and which is awesome. So we're happy to have you.
Well, so not only are we working together, like we're literally working together. We're on the same rotation. We have just about the same hours, and so pretty much all day, every day, we get to talk about what are we going to do for the next episode.
Yeah. Well, and the people over at Icarus are like, what the hell could go wrong with this? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Do we bring that up? I mean, it's Season 4 premiere. We gotta light some fireworks, right?
You wanna set the fireworks off?
I'll light the match. It sounds like a certain chief is gonna be retiring.
Oh, buddy. I haven't heard that.
Sounds like. You haven't heard that? Okay. Yeah, it wasn't like you brought it up to me and told me and notified me what was going on.
Oh, dude. Well, yeah, man. I mean, pretty much everybody in that department has reached out to me, just super excited. I was like, I'm going to have to start screening some of your guys' calls because this is getting a little excessive.
So Icarus is going to be without a chief here pretty soon because their chief is in the process of retiring. But I'm wondering, do you think he's going to take a katana and shove it into his chest? Because he's going to be dead to them, right?
Yeah, that would probably be what happens. So,
does he have to do it himself, or does the union president have to go up there and do it?
Oh, dude, if the union president got the opportunity, Just kidding. He's a great guy. We're all
the
friends.
the issue now is that obviously they don't know who's going to be their next chief, and obviously some concerns going on there, and they're pretty nervous. A lot going on. The 10 years that I was there, they went through 3 chiefs, so who knows what the next bag is going to be. But I may have heard a couple suggestions that maybe Turk or Swagger should apply for that spot.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times. I've told everybody that's still there that you all should put in for it. It's like
100%.
at least the union. Like it's a show of unity, right? That's the whole point of a union, and that you want to make the place a better job, better agency. So I've said it to multiple people, obviously, because I'm not afraid to say it. But if you don't do it, you have no fucking balls. So
Right.
testicular fortitude is really little, and you're not going to get anywhere.
It might be the only way to get your voice heard, right? Like not saying I know a guy or two, but I know a guy or two who tried to have their voice heard, through union actions, and nothing was. It was
No.
just thrown off to the side. So
The thing
you
of
may
it
have to
is,
step up and do something else.
yeah, the thing of it is there are people there that could do it and could
Yeah.
come from easily in the sergeant ranks and maybe even still in the officer ranks. There's a couple people that would be more than qualified to run that department. So
Right.
the people in between that, I wouldn't trust them. That's just
No.
very shady shit. So
The issue that they have is that the way that's structured to put in for it, and I get it on the back end, why a city would, put certain requirements in place.
mhm,
They don't want to waste their time with people who aren't qualified, and they want to make sure that they get the most well-rounded person. But some of those qualifications immediately cut off a lot of really good applicants
yeah,
in just, based how they're structured. And then you get the people that know how to play the system that are, getting appointed. So,
right. Well, and I don't know if obviously we've talked about this before, but having a degree in some educational field, whether it's criminal justice or anything else, isn't really applicable, in my opinion, to law enforcement. Like you could have
right.
somebody that's got like 30 years of experience and be way more knowledgeable in the profession than someone who's gone to college and has worked in the profession for 15 or so years, which I
Sure.
think is what they're requiring, So,
Hmm.
but then other things like, they try to put that, like that certification for being, oh, I've been through the FBI Academy. Like that's a great badge of
Yeah.
honor. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Like how corrupt is that agency? Like that's ridiculous.
You've got that, but then also how selective is that? You're now narrowing your scope, because think of how many not even the agency your home agencies across America. How many people are allowed to get into that? How many people have the
Right.
opportunity to? If you're at a smaller agency and they can't afford to send you away for 6 months, you might be the best leader in the world, but because your agency can't afford to lose you for 6 months, you can't go to it.
Right. Yep. Just becomes a big waste of
So,
time. So,
yeah. And well, the roll call room talks about it. It's the yellow brick prick, right? Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. Let's throw in
I,
our friends at the roll call room. And
there you go. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how you get around that. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. You have to be, especially now in today's times when you can't find 6 applicants for a police officer spot, let alone the chief spot. You have to be more open-minded.
yeah, I think it's kind of a similar issue with what is going on at the federal level with like Doge right now. That you kind of have to
Hmm.
follow the money. You really got to because
Yeah.
um, there is probably in some way a kickback or fraud. Well, we know that there's a kickback. We've asked that question about. Well, we there's been
Watch this
speculation.
technology.
Yeah, yeah. Huh?
A paper
So
performance, not a
yeah,
kickback.
pay for performance, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you really got to follow the money and the political game of it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but I'm sure there's some wrongdoing taking place because of all the wrongdoing that's going on at the federal level. If it's happening there, it's also happening locally.
And we've talked about it too. Is that when you have an agency where the city manager or the city, whoever ultimately appoints that position,
Hmm.
they're going to back that position no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
they don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to set themselves up for litigation. So it's basically ride it out until that person quits or retires or does something so public they have to fire them.
Right. Yep.
So it messed up.
Yeah. Well, and then
I
kind
don't.
of just on a, current events thing though, like obviously this just came out I think yesterday, but like with Kash Patel being confirmed as the FBI director, like I
Yeah.
mean, there's going to be a lot of I'm sure internal investigations taking place within the FBI, but then probably also well with the DOJ. And at some point, you have to kind of connect the dots that there's certain people or certain people that were in leadership roles that have connections to
Hmm.
the FBI that are extremely corrupt individuals. So,
Especially when you look at the weaponized investigations that are taking place.
mhm.
And this is kind of funny. So I've started, doing some streaming and things like that, and doing recordings for YouTube on the video game side of things. And in the background, I'll play our old episodes, because who wants to just watch me sit and play if I don't have anything to say, right? And our old episode with Nick, I think it was our season 2 episode,
Okay.
we had like a 15-minute rant where we talked about weaponized IAs,
Yeah.
weaponized investigations, and how absolutely corrupt that is. And 2 years later, it's still happening, and it's happening at the highest level of our government that
Well, and
now it's about to get investigated.
it's on a way more public scale now. Like I
Yeah.
hate to say, we're quite a bit of the time we're right, but we are. Like, I mean, we're calling stuff like, years in advance of what is actually currently happening in current events. Like,
Hmm.
a lot of that goes into I can't take credit for it. You can't take all the credit for it. It's just natural free thinking. But
Right.
in listening to other quality sources like podcasts, that podcast 100% won the 2024 election, like no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I mean, it's awesome because you're getting the truth out and not having to listen to this stupid legacy media stuff that is not
Hmm.
doing anything proper. So,
Yeah. It definitely starts off at, I don't want to say the local level, but it's the boots on the ground, right?
mhm.
Like, and this is what amazes me is it's happened several different places that I've been at, that you've been at, that our friends and other, associates have been at, where the boots on the ground see an issue, they bring it up. Sometimes it's not the most professional or politically correct way of bringing it up, but a lot of times it is. But the people above them, instead of addressing those issues, they want to go hide in a corner and give lip service and hope that it just goes away. Like, well, if I just keep giving lip service, it might go away, and I won't have to face it and put work in and put effort in, and I can just skate by to the next month or the next year. But then 3, 4 months down the line, when what we told them was going to happen happens, it creates a bigger problem, and it's just a continuous how do we avoid this? How do we make it go away?
Right. Yep. So
I may have known a guy that wrote a book about something like that. I don't know.
it's a pretty damn
Possibly.
good book. If you want to plug it now, you can.
Hey, Imposters on the Throne, Warriors in the Shadows, exposing poor leadership tactics during tough times. It is on sale right now on Amazon. It's the lowest price it's ever been. Go out and take a look at it. I want to get the word out more than I want to make money, so it's very affordable right now. Go take a look. I'll maybe drop a link on social media. But yeah, it's out there.
I do have to ask. You gonna
Hmm.
write a sequel to that thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured you
So
would.
there, obviously, some things have gone on that have kind of postponed everything, right? But there is a plan for a sequel to that book. The whole idea behind that book was to do the first one as the negative tactics, the poor leadership tactics, and then to do a follow up one with the positive leadership tactics and how, hey, you want to be a good leader, you already know the bad stuff. Here's what you should do or what you can do to, better yourself as a leader. And then there may be something in the works right now with Mark the Cop and Nick from Roll Call Room, where we might be putting together a little manual, if you will, for when you find yourself with your feet against the fire.
Very smart.
I'm
Very
not
smart.
going to go any further than that. I'm just going to lay it out
No,
like that.
you got to leave it on the cliffhanger.
Exactly.
Can't disclose anything.
It's going to be good, though. It's going to be really
That's
good.
awesome.
So,
That's awesome,
what else is new with you?
dude. The last time that I was on a podcast because of the schedules and stuff, I can't even remember. It's been a while, so I don't know where I was in the career at that point. I don't even know if I've been promoted, so I'm now a sergeant.
Yep.
So
I think we announced that, but I think
maybe.
did you maybe talk about the position that you'd been offered? So basically, Swagger was offered a pretty cool position
Yeah.
that he would have had to kind of uproot his family a little bit, so he turned that down. But he was going to be in charge of a whole city, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I thankfully to some friends actually from our old agency uh,
Yeah,
that kind of put my name out there as a possibility for that town, and I did not want to leave this profession. It was very hard for me to do. It took like 2 weeks to make a decision. It was just kind of eating me away.
yeah.
But I got offered the job as a city manager, and I turned it down. I mean, it's you have to love this profession to do it. I told you I'm always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like that's just kind of how I'm living because you never know which way. I call it kind of like what had transpired to me in law enforcement, at our first agency. It's kind of like a domestic relationship where you're kind of, you
Yeah.
love it so much that you got to stay with it, but it'll abuse you. So, and not good. So I'm always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's kind of I don't really need this. I could do something else. I mean, I have a bachelor's degree in business. Like I could go do other things. It's just I love doing it. So
I think ultimately what it shows with you is how good of a leader you are because you looked at the whole scope of things. You looked at what it would do to your family, what it would do to you in this profession, where you would be at there. And ultimately, you're like, it's not the right fit for me right now. And so you turned it down. You didn't accept it for the glitz or the glamour or the money. And I guess that's what I was kind of getting at was that that's a huge example of looking at the bigger picture as opposed to what's right there in front of you.
yeah, and sometimes that bigger picture takes a while. I mean, you really have to. You really have to.
Yeah.
You really got to take your time. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I took 2 weeks to make the decision. I was very thankful that the mayor of that city allowed me to do that. Every once in a while I'll regret, "Oh, maybe I should have done it. Yeah. I hem haw about it, um, but like I said, just the way that our schedule's kind of set up, I would have been working, 5 days a week, and now
Hmm.
granted, I would have been off for the holidays and weekends and stuff. So there are perks and benefits to it. But have working 2 days and then being off a couple of days with 12s is a pretty nice little schedule. Some people hate it. I suppose if you have enough
Yeah.
energy to do it, you might as well do it. So, but yeah,
See, I didn't realize you took 2 full weeks, and that
yeah,
was probably smart because I only took the weekend, and yeah, I think 2 weeks probably would have been a better time frame to think about it. But yeah, I didn't realize that was that long.
I dragged it out as pretty much as long as I could before they needed an answer. Um, you know, so and I negotiated with my current employer. Like, I mean, everybody should
Sure.
do that. Like, if you're gonna leave and they want to keep you, and you gotta, we joke about it. The chief and I joke about it. It's kind of like free agency in the NFL. Like really
Yeah.
nowadays in law enforcement, you're so valuable that it's just your certification. Um, it's just crazy to me that people don't take chances on certifieds as much as they should because the amount of experience and certification you're gonna get out of a certified versus having to sit. It's a cheaper route to take, you know,
Yeah.
and for the city. So it's a business deal. It really is what it is. It's what it comes down to. So it's like exploring free agency. And the NFL, man, that's a bad example because they get paid more. So, but it might be a bad
How about
example.
NIL money, right?
Right. Yep.
Like, yeah, I mean, your people are getting uh, sniped or, or like recruited basically from one place to another based on hey, we can give you this, we can give you that if you come over and don't
Yeah.
put us through a new hire that has to go to the academy. So
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of poaching is what I call it. I mean, they'll reach out to you if they're in dire. I mean, I've been reached out to by several agencies. I just
yeah,
really. I mean, that was back when I was still on day shift, so I didn't want to leave the day shift. But now that I'm on night shift, I mean, it is what it is. So
you're you're on a complete swing shift whenever they need you. That's where you're at.
yeah, that's been crazy. That's been wild.
Yeah,
So it's I don't know. It's a good and a bad thing. Like I'm trying to do it to save overtime to an extent so we can get increased salaries down the road. But
sure.
Um, we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. So, yeah, you know.
That
So
darn budget, like,
yeah, I know. Yeah. Can't just move money around. Damn.
no, yeah, well, can't just find money falling from the sky. Although maybe now that Doge is taking stuff over, maybe we will. Although they're cutting money, so probably not. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's an interesting topic there. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Finding billions of dollars within a week that we can save is kind of mind blowing.
Oh, it's there. In numerous. Sorry, had a text message come in.
Oh,
Uh,
you're good.
numerous. Businesses. City governments. Local governments. County governments. Like you're overspending in a lot of shit that you don't need.
Yeah.
So, and it's not fair to, I mean, I hate taxes. I don't think it's any secret to anybody. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know who does like taxes. It's ridiculous, but coming from, two cops that people pay your salary through taxes, but it's dumb. So,
Well, when you find out what it's going to and that it's most likely to, protect money laundering, like,
yeah,
no, I don't want billions of dollars going overseas for condoms.
no,
Like,
no,
you're telling me that that's all above water? I don't think so.
no.
Well, so season 4 premiere, I kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. Uh, the format for this year is going to be, if it's a podcast platform, it's going to be audio only probably, and then the video is going to go on YouTube. We have that channel over there. We've had it for a couple years now. I think it just breaks down easier. I think there were some issues that were popping up for people who were clicking on the video and, like, say Spotify, and they didn't have video capabilities. So we're going to be breaking that down separately. If you like watching us do the podcast, you're going to probably have to head over to YouTube. But if you don't have a problem just hearing my disgusting voice and Swagger's beautiful voice,
Oh,
then stick on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that.
you say Spotify?
It's Spotify, didn't I?
Oh, maybe it cut out.
It might have been It might have been Spotify. What I
Whoa.
meant to say was Spotify, but
Oh man.
in addition to that, if for some reason you do like my voice, Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern, I'm on the Thin Line Rock Station. For those of you listening, I'm pointing to a flag right now that says Thin Line Rock Station. And then we are doing, video game content as well. I kind of dropped the ball because Swagger had sent me a few clips like 2 years ago, and I never posted them because I was too lazy to do it myself. But we're kind of getting into that now and gaining some traction that way. So if you want more content, if you want more of us, it is out there.
Yeah, buddy. I think the video game stuff's cool that you're doing. I like watched several of your videos, and
Yeah,
we talked about the iRacing and all that stuff that you're doing. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
So
we're trying. We're getting more as creative as we can. So
I think you're the next William Byron. Just I might be
could
biased,
be.
but
I don't know. I'm 37 years old, so probably not. I don't know that
oh,
anyone's gonna take a flyer on an
what is
old
he?
guy like
How
me.
old is he?
He's like in his 20s.
Oh, is he really? I don't know.
Yeah, like super young. Like if you're not getting signed by like 18, you're probably not gonna make it. Or if you don't have $1 million check to cut to put your name on the car to then also drive the car, you're probably not gonna get it.
Well, shit. Money makes the world go. Apparently.
Well, should we jump into the topic today, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
All
do it.
right. So, the season 4 premiere, we're going to be talking about the idiosyncrasies and mannerisms of cops. I thought this would be a fun little list to put together, kind of dip back into our roots of doing lists back and forth, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
That's how we do everything.
Yeah. Swagger and I did not discuss our list beforehand
Nope.
because we never do.
No.
And so this could be another like 30 seconds or it could be another 30 minutes. I don't know. We'll find out.
Best way to do it.
Do you want to start us off then?
Yeah, sure. I wrote down just kind of starting off some good qualities. Obviously I'll read one, but to start off. But I did the good qualities first,
Okay.
from a standpoint of trying to, in case people who are listening to this are like getting into law enforcement. There's kind of like these
Okay.
traits that you should have. But my number one that I think always works out for the best is, no matter what situation you're in, is being respectful. I think that
Yeah.
that one itself can calm a situation down that is really elevated, which is what you kind of should be doing, is de-escalating, obviously, in the first instance. So
Hmm.
But I think being respectful is one of the good qualities, one of the good, mannerisms that you should have is doing so. So
Yeah, it's super important to meet everyone. I don't want to say at their level, but as a person, right?
yeah, yep,
Like, if you go into a situation where someone's having a mental episode, or maybe they know they're going to jail, yeah, I guess meeting them at their level is the wrong thing to say, because if they're hyped up, you don't want to sit there and yell at them and scream at them. But if you're talking to them as a person with that respect that you're bringing up, chances are you're going to be able to calm things down. I mean, I've had people go from pissed off and wanting to kill me to putting their hands behind their back and pretty much putting the handcuffs on themselves.
yep.
So with my list, I've got some of those. I also was thinking, like, just some of the goofy stuff that we do that like all cops seem to pick up on.
Uh huh.
And the first thing I thought of was that hands in the vest, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I don't know where we picked that up from, but as soon as we started getting load bearing vests, you know that one cop did it and everyone was like, that looks cool, or like, that looks comfortable. And so everyone started doing it. It's almost like, I don't know, like a football player, like just hands right up here in your vest. And so you see guys just chilling out, and like, from a tactic standpoint, it's pretty terrible. Like,
yeah,
yeah, your hands are up, but you're literally sticking your hands behind something that you're gonna have to get around to, like, if you have to fight someone. And I just noticed that every single cop that I've seen with a load bearing vest, we all do it. We right in our vest.
yeah. I think it's kind of because I think they do it. People do it to prevent themselves from crossing their arms. Like because like that's kind of a bad. It can be a bad. I don't know, mannerism, I guess, for
Yeah.
doing that is crossing your arms, because then it's kind of like, some people make you feel that you're like the leader of the pack, or they're being oppressed to an extent. So if you're standing with your
Right.
hands in your vest, amongst other cops, it is what it is. But if you're out in public, it's hard not to still do that. Like the other night when we were on a call and my hands were in there because it was freaking cold. So
Well, that's the other part of it, is it's a great way to warm up your hands.
yeah,
I mean, it all goes back to like us being taught like the interview stance, right? Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
supposed to have our hands up like this in the interview stance whenever we're talking to someone, and like, it looks so robotic. Like, I'm trying to talk to a victim or a suspect with my hands, like, you know what I mean? Like, this
yeah,
is a lot more laid back, and like, I don't know.
yeah. It's not. I don't know. I think it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I mean, it just depends on the situation you're in, I guess. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good one though. Yeah. So, I
I
see
try.
the route. I
I
see
try.
the route you're going. This is good. So I'm going this way. You're going that way. We're gonna be able to. Yeah, this will be good. So my next one that I have is just being humble. Obviously, um, trying to keep. Whenever you get promoted, there's obviously people who can't do it. There's assholes.
Hmm.
And they get promoted, they become a huge dick and a blue falcon and all this other stuff. So, but being humble and making sure that the higher you rise up, right, the more you take care of the officers below you. That's kind of your job, and doing that is being humble. Don't praise yourself. We've talked about it on the podcast numerous times about people who
Yeah.
shine their badge to make others look bad. Don't do that
Yeah.
shit. So but that's another good mannerism. I know it's not a physical one, right? It's just more of a trait type thing.
Uh, the toes that you step on the way to the top are the
Yeah,
same. No, wait, no, something like that. The
something like
ones you're gonna have to
that.
kiss on the way down. Yeah. How did I forget that saying? I don't know, but yeah, like, you're absolutely right. On your way up, you have to be humble. You have to remember your grassroots. I think part of that too, though, is like looking at the big scope of things and the grand scheme of things. Like, I think there are some guys out there who feel they deserve the world,
Yeah.
for the effort they put in, and for sure you deserve to be, rewarded for that, and shown gratitude for that. But at the same time, you've got a bunch of guys and girls right next to you who are putting in that same effort,
Hmm.
and tough decisions have to be made.
Yeah. I mean, the bigger the agency, the more the higher you go, the less active you actually are. Like, and the people who are
Yeah.
doing most of the work are the ones that are out on the street on patrol, pushing the
Hmm.
beat. So, you shouldn't be knocking them down, because your ass will go right back to patrol if they all leave. So,
100%. Yeah, exactly. Remember how to do an accident report is all I have to
yeah,
say, because
yeah.
you're going to be out there at some point. So
Uh-huh.
The next little mannerism that I came up with was patting the roof of the car.
Oh yeah.
Where the fuck did we come up with that? Where was it? When did that become a thing? That hold tight for a second, partner. When did we pick that up, and what is it supposed to mean? Like,
I think that was
I,
learned probably on Cops, the TV show when we were kids. Like they
I
would
don't know. That
always
might have been.
they'd be on a traffic stop and you just see them tap on the hood of the car because I think like they're nervous because like I'm on camera, like
Okay, yeah, it could
So
be.
because I remember
Or,
like them doing it all the time.
or like, was it like a TJ Hooker thing or something that was shown on TV? I don't know. Like, obviously back in the day we used to press the trunk to make sure it was closed and put our thumbprint on there when we didn't have body cams and stuff like that. But I don't, yeah, maybe it was a nervous tick that cops had before, or that they saw someone else do and thought it looked cool. But man, I see that all the time. That hold tight. Which, like, the meme now is like, once you hear that, it's pretty much you might as well just jump out of the car and put your hands behind your back, because it probably means you're suspended or wanted or something like that.
Yeah, something's coming.
You might not like it, but something's coming.
Yeah. So another one I have is just being professional. I think we've already kind of touched on that one, but I'm just going down the list, obviously. But
Gotcha.
so I think we've already wrapped that one in there. So I'm gonna touch on that one and go to the next one. But I think the most important one of the most important ones, obviously, is that a lot of people do not have when getting into this profession anymore is common sense.
Yeah.
I think it died with the generation. A lot of generations say this, right? Like, oh yeah, that the other generation, the young. I think it died with our generation. Like, and some of the people in our generation they don't have it, and
Yeah.
which is alarming. So, but common sense will keep your ass alive. Street smarts, common sense, whatever you want to call it on the street. But yeah, having that is another mannerism of just being knowledgeable and kind of seeing what's transpiring out in front of you before it happens. So,
I think a lot of that, I think common sense kind of wraps into street smarts. It
mhm.
kind of, they're two different things, but I think they're kind of synonymous in a little bit. Like, having that common sense helps you to understand situations when you're dealing with a suspect. Like,
Right.
does common sense say what they're telling me is correct, or does common sense say, they're about to attack me, like, based on
Right.
how they're acting, things like that. And yeah, I don't know, is if it was just a generational thing, is it a technology thing where, like, we've become so wrapped up in not having personal contact between one another that we've lost that? Or, like, I don't know, where do you think it's broken down?
Well, I was just at FTO school like back in June, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one of the things that kind of struck me in that course was that there's the reason why our generation, the millennial generation, is so important to the career of law enforcement is because the generation, whatever, X before us, whatever it is, and the one below us, Z or whatever the hell they call themselves now, they, in no way that they were raised, is going to be able to communicate together, like, because they just don't see eye to eye
Correct.
whatsoever. So the
Correct.
millennial generation in between there is so important in bridging the gap because we were raised by those individuals, or maybe even a little bit older, that are on
Mm-hmm.
the higher side, where they're in the chiefs, lieutenants, sergeants, things like that, versus um, the new officers coming in, which we're now just starting to see get in the profession. And I'm not knocking them, but like they want everything, right? They think they
Sure.
deserve everything. And one of the things that you have to understand with them is they're always going to ask the question why. Well, plausibly to our generation, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you ask the question why? You know,
Mm-hmm.
but they're always going to do it. So it's just better just to share with them the reason why you're doing something, so they know, because all they're trying to do is learn. Um, because they didn't have common sense to begin with, like, oh, logically, like, hey, that's what I'm saying. Like, generationally, I think it died. So,
Yeah, I guess I think you're right there. Like, the older generation, generally, I'm not saying obviously every single
not
one, but the
everybody.
older
Yeah.
generation seems to have the mentality of do as you're told
Hmm.
and don't ask questions at all. Just do as you're told. The younger generation seems to not only ask that why, but almost constantly ask that why and have the issues with everything without trying to find a solution. Whereas, hey, I'll toot our own horn. Our generation, with that common sense, we can kind of find the answer to that why, or find the solution to that problem without, breaking it down. It's right
Right.
there in front of us. Now, to our discredit, we're terrible about communicating that.
Right.
Like, we're a good bridge in between the two, but when we automatically, come up with that solution to that problem, we don't communicate that and how it broke down. And we could probably do better there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next one was, I don't know when or where we picked this up, but the do me a favor. Hey, do me a favor. And I've seen, videos online of like a 30-minute interaction between a cop and a person, whether it be victim, suspect, or just regular citizen, where like the counter was there for the do me a favor. And it was in 30 minutes, it was like 50 times. They were like, hey, do me a favor, do me a favor. And I think that came about in verbal judo and like maybe CIT, where it's, you're trying to put some power into that person. When you say do me a favor, it's them now feeling like they're doing something for you, so they're more likely to actually do it. But it's become almost like the word like, or like the word you know what I mean? Like, it's become this filler thing that we do all the time. Like, hey, do me a favor, do me a favor, do me a favor, sit over here, do me a favor and give me your name. Like, we could dial it back a little bit.
That's pretty funny because that does happen often. But all of that.
And it's
the
everyone.
Do me a favor, the the yas, the
Yep.
likes. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to do and stuff like that because you're trying to get a point across in a conversation on a podcast. Sometimes, we will, but
Sure.
you get people that do a lot of and Viking. I sometimes feel that it's a educational level, right? Where you can't formulate a well thought out sentence in a relatively short amount of time to put it together.
Yeah.
So you got to break those up. So.
Oh, I used to get just scolded. Like, why do you say so much in I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did it one time and now it's
It
stuck.
happens. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like you said, you pick it up. Like I just did. Like, so,
Yeah.
You just pick it up in a conversation, but yeah, it's not necessarily. See, did it again. So, what we're talking about.
So okay, funny story.
I'm gonna stop now.
Season one of this show, the and ums drove me so nuts that I would spend hours editing the show and cutting them out. And the way that it works out is it pops up on almost like a bar graph when you see the the noise go up and down. I could isolate our ums and uhs without even hearing it. I was like, that's one. That would take me like 2 hours to like edit a 45-minute show. So I kind of stopped doing that.
Well, I think sometimes it's just best just to let it play anyway, and not edit. I think a lot of really good podcasts now don't edit anything and they just let it roll.
I think they just let it fly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
I just thought it was funny where I'm like, Swagger said there. I said there. And like,
Swagger said 1,000 times in this hour-long podcast. What a
well, I
moron.
probably would have said it 1,001. I mean, it was a lot. It was a ton.
Yeah, as being rookies in this field. So
very true.
You became
very
more of
true.
an expert of finding the ums and the technology side of it. That's pretty impressive. You were able to just look at that and go, "That's an that's an."
I just gave up.
I don't have time for this shit.
And it becomes harder when there's a video side of it too, I guess. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
But,
am I up? You up?
You're up, buddy.
I'm up again. So one of the things, this is one of my actually last good quality things, is just being a realist. I think that is very important in the sense of you have to understand that things aren't always going to go the way that you or the criminal wants them to go, or actually maybe I shouldn't say criminal, but anybody who you're interacting with. But if you take a realistic approach from it, it's less to be let down in a lot of areas. So, but mannerisms, I think cops a lot of times lose the sense of being a realist, and they, want this like big, overall, grand, wonderful scenario, and it's not going to come out that way. And we know that. I mean, you could tell a rookie officer that from the start. This isn't going to play out the way that you think it is. So.
I think a lot of that breaks down on the mental health side of things, where inherently, no matter what you believe in, whether you're religious or not, there's this good versus evil or good versus bad. And like you said, you have this big grandiose idea that, you're green behind the ears, you're starting off, and I'm gonna go do good every day, and I'm gonna go hunt the evil you pretend doesn't exist, right? You think that you're gonna crush it every single day, and then 6 months or a year, you start seeing that sometimes the bad gets away, sometimes the evil gets away, and that starts to affect you a little bit. And
Yep.
so you keep clinging to that good. You keep clinging to that idea of things are going to be great and grandiose. And then you start to see within the agency some of the issues that might be there, and it starts affecting you every single day because it wasn't that greener pasture, amazing painting that you had getting into the career field. And so it starts to affect you a little bit every single day.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better. So that's kind of what I was going with, especially with the agency side of it, is that you you can't, we've talked about this on the podcast a long time ago, and I think you and I had a difference of opinion, but when I come from in the military, in the Marine Corps, you're all brothers, right? And sisters
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And I said I think the brotherhood a long time ago was dead, and I say that from the sense of me growing up in it with my family members being in law enforcement for so long, that there was a different time. There wasn't everybody trying to stab each other in the back to get to a better position, and
Yeah.
but being realist nowadays, that happens. So you need to protect yourself. Like, and I'm not saying put up a bunch of walls, but just understand to the point that there are people out there that are going to pull that on you. And if that's what's going on at your agency, you may want to find a new agency because they're going to get you at some point. It's going to catch up to you.
Especially the bigger agencies. I think the thin blue line is almost gone in the bigger agencies.
Yeah.
I think the smaller agencies still have it because not necessarily you have to have it, but you have that interpersonal communication, that interaction a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know you. I mean, obviously, I've known you for a while, but I work very closely with you. I know you. I know your family. I know the other person that we have on our rotation. I work with them. We have different schedules, but I see them every day that I go into work.
Right.
A bigger agency, everyone's fighting over everything, right?
Yep.
There's one sergeant spot and 50 to 200 people putting in for it. So it starts to become a little bit backstabby and vindictive, especially when they see that it worked for the
Yeah.
people above sergeant and above lieutenant and above captain.
Yeah.
They're taking that game plan.
Yeah. If you have leaders in the profession that are catching wind that somebody stabs somebody in the back, they need to do the opposite instead of promote them. They need to demote them because you can't have that. That's not good. That's not loyal. Like, that's a form of unloyalty.
Right.
And they're
Right.
not going to be loyal to you as the chief. They're going to find a way to stab you in the back at some point too.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And they're going to be looking for those opportunities. You know what I mean?
right. Kind of common sense, not to bring up a prior one as well, but
It's just if I can't trust you in a promotional process or a ancillary assignment process, how am I going to trust you out on the street?
right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
If I can't, or if I have to watch everything that I say around you, how can I go be a good cop when you're backing me up? And and I don't mean that as in like some people are going to take that as like, oh, you go out there and you fuck up the community or you are unprofessional. I mean, like, we've talked about it before. You can do something right 1,000 times, and if you mess it up that one time after, all of a sudden those guys that are looking to stab you in the back are going to label you as that, and they're going to bring up that one example over and over and over again, and somehow that's going to be your persona moving forward. So if you have that pressure out there when you're on a call and you're constantly thinking about that in the back of your head, that's going to affect you and your performance moving forward and how you act and how you do things, is what I was trying to describe.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
My next one was it's kind of a bad one, but it's just how we are, I guess. And that's the whole idea of the cop persona, right? Where if you go off duty or you go out off duty, you can almost pick a cop out of a group, even if they're not in uniform. Because, like, the most extreme is where they're wearing Relentless Defender shirt and 511 pants and the friggin' box Oakleys and things like that. And you're like, that's a cop, right? They have the my haircut. Yeah, and they're like, you go, that's a cop. I know that's a cop. I don't know. it is kind of just part of us, right? It's ingrained in us. It's what we have to do every day, and so we carry it into our time off. And I'm not saying that we need to go be, slugs or a totally different person where we're turning it off on our time off, but it's very easy to pick a cop out of a group.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I've noticed about our profession.
Yeah, I think everybody's guilty of it when they get into the profession. Is I don't want to be, I'm a cop. That's what I am. And then the longer you're in it, the more you know, the less you want to be known to be a cop, because you're already going to run into people in the community that you work with, unless you don't live in the community. But then again, you still could.
Yeah.
I was watching, a podcast with, it was on Sean Ryan's show, and it was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
I shared it on my Facebook page, and it was awesome because he was talking about, like, he can't go to like Best Buy and not possibly run into somebody and have to worry about whether or not, he's going to get his life taken right then and there because he let his guard down. So, like, living
Mm-hmm.
in that state of paranoia is what it is that there's good and bad things for it, right? Like, you're talking about essentially a form of paranoia, that you're concerned or alert at all times. That's a good thing to some extent. But then, it can be a bad thing because it's easy to pick you out too. That if you don't
Yeah.
just blend in with the rest of the community, like, undercover cops probably do a really damn good job of just chameleon into the population, because that's what they do all the
Sure.
time anyway. So
Sure. It and again, there's a difference between like keeping your back to the wall and knowing where all the doors and exits are. I'm talking that you can tell by their off-duty fit, the clothing that they're wearing. That's a cop.
yeah,
Like,
yep,
they got to put a little more separation into it. I know the episode that you're talking about because I saw the clip that you shared. I need to listen to that one because I saw another clip where he basically laid it out like we've all been saying,
yeah,
talking about leadership and how you're out there chasing guns and drugs and the bad guys, and the real enemy is back when you walk through those four walls, and it's leadership
yeah.
that's trying to strike you down. So
It's a really good episode. He hits the nail on the head. Like, I I started watching it, and um, you know, I didn't know where he was going to go with it, because but then he got to the point of talking about leadership, and I was like, I know where exactly he's going with this. And he started doing it, and I went, that's Icarus, that's Icarus, that's it. I mean, the whole
yeah,
thing, the whole entire thing. And I'm like, that's other agencies out there. I'm like, he's not wrong. Like, and it's sad, but I'm happy he made it to that level of a podcast, that he got his opinion out there. Now, what's been done about
yeah.
it? Probably nothing, unfortunately.
So I think he's got his own show, and I think it's taken off a little bit because I've seen him in other clips, and I had no idea about it. I need to do some research, but I think that guest has his own show where they talk about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, he might. I know he was like part of like a training group that does like law enforcement military training, um,
Yeah,
stuff. I can't recall what his name is, but yeah, it was, I mean, phenomenal podcast.
you you can tell the dude has seen some stuff by
Yeah,
looking at his eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he
Well,
just he has that look to him.
he had a kind of a rough childhood too, all the way through, and then
Mm.
I think he was in the military, had a rough time there as well, and then into law enforcement, and um, he's gotten pretty religious, I think,
Okay.
since his departure from law enforcement, or maybe right around the same time. But um, I, he's taken the right direction to try to lift himself out of, obviously Erica can talk more upon that, with the mental
Hmm.
health side of it, but he's done kind of the right thing to help get himself out of that situation in a positive light. So, which is awesome as
That's
well.
good stuff.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is very good.
yep. So I guess that
Maybe
leads into
maybe
my
we
next
send
one.
an email and see if he can come on.
Maybe, yeah, maybe so.
He might be too
Um,
big for us, but
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. You've had some pretty big guests on the show, so, and
we'll see.
we're gonna have another one here very soon. So
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm not giving that away, but it's going to
No,
be
we're
big.
not.
It's going to be
Yeah,
fun.
it's gonna be a good one. Is it next week, right? Yeah, yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Is it next
Yeah.
week or the week? Either way, it's coming up
Either way,
soon.
it's coming. Yeah,
Be ready for it.
yeah. So the next one, kind of leading into that a little bit. I just did a bad quality, but cops can be pretty vindictive. And in this case, he could have, and he kind of was, which he rightfully so, the way he was treated, but could be vindictive internally. and then also externally. So if something isn't going right for you in life or on the call you're on or whatever, you see a lot of cops. There's the bad ones obviously, because obviously every profession has bad apples that take it out on the people that they're dealing with or the ones that they work with, and their coworkers or whatnot. So um, it's a natural stressor, but I think that happens quite frequently, as well as that this the level of vindictiveness amongst the profession is a negative mannerism or quality that we have.
Very much so. I guess kind of going back to that whole you do something right 1,000 times, but the one time that's, yeah, we hold grudges like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
And you could be my best friend, you could be my brother or my sister, but as soon as you wrong me that one time, that little bit even, man, it's like gloves are off.
Yeah.
So my next one is it's something I've noticed we all do, and I maybe call it a negative one also, because we have to stop doing it, is the shop talk.
Hmm.
Man, we are terrible about that. It doesn't matter whether we're on duty or off duty. Shop talking like crazy, cop talking like crazy, and it kind of goes back to that, like, you got to have some friends outside of law enforcement. It can't be you 24/7. You got to find something else. Inevitably, if you get a group of cops together, they're going to start talking about calls for service and hey, did you see that? Were you part of this? That type of stuff.
Yep. You're right. It is. I mean, it's to an extent, it's good to offload some of that stuff, obviously, from a mental health side, um, and kind of, when you're talking and bantering around, you're getting other opinions on how to handle situations that how things transpired. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a certain time that you have to turn it off and forget and stop.
I'm over here trying to block my dog from hitting the power strip. That's what for those of you watching YouTube and going, "What the fuck is Turk doing?" I'm trying to keep the dog from stepping on the power strip. So,
Well, it's good because
uh,
if you would have blacked out, I would have blamed it on China. So shit, they got us.
what else? What else you got for me?
Um, Crap. I don't have anything else on the list written down because
Okay.
you've already covered a couple of things that we've talked about negatively.
I
So
mean, I've just got one more.
oh yeah, go
So,
ahead, hit it, do it.
and that's the fucking energy drinks, man. Like, everyone's got their energy drink and they've got their flavor of their brand, and somehow that has just become us
Yeah.
completely and totally. Like, it doesn't matter what shift you work on. I'm gonna throw one of those back. And we we kind of made fun of our boy Miggs on a previous episode for his addiction to them, but
Yeah,
it has
yeah,
become part of law enforcement.
yeah, yep. Anything that you can get energy from is can be a negative for you, I guess. So, because me, and
100%.
I you know I used to drink a lot of soda. I stopped doing that. One of the things, actually, just a tip of advice for people who are listening, but one thing that I started doing now that I'm on this overnight shift is the first thing I do. I heard this on another podcast because we that's all we really do is listen to podcasts all the time. So, but I heard one on another podcast of somebody they saying that they just wake up every morning and down a glass of water, 8 to 12 ounces of water, first thing
Yeah,
right when you get up, and kind of kickstarts because your organs dehydrate when you're sleeping,
right.
and it kickstarts them and gets them going again, and it makes you feel energetic within, like, 10-15 minutes just by drinking water first thing in the morning, which is ironic because when I was in the military in boot camp, and they did everything for you, like you had to drink water at this prescribed time and go to bed at this prescribed time, they would always make us pound a canteen of water the first thing we did in the morning and wake up. And it made sense, but it was also funny because they would make us pound a canteen of water right before we went to bed, so we were up all night because you had to piss. Assholes,
My
man.
canteen is filled with something else right now.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's just another thing that getting away from the caffeine or the sugars and stuff like that is important, I think.
Well, buddy, I think that wraps up my stuff. You said your stuff is wrapped up.
Yeah, I don't got
I feel
anything
like
else
that
on
was a
there.
pretty good one.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's good to get back into the swing of it.
Yeah.
Been out of it for a while, so just kind of navigating life, and it's good to be working with you again.
Yeah,
so,
buddy. Yeah,
so
buddy.
which is great.
I think the plan moving forward is probably one a month. I think we shot for two a month last year, and we were almost there until the end of the year. I think this year we're going to shoot for one a month, and that's a very attainable goal for us. Getting through 2025.
Yeah. Well, and it's also nice right now. I mean, you and I are basically on the same schedule, so setting up
100%.
times to coordinating the date to record and stuff is a little bit easier. I know we had a hiccup, that scheduling issue. My bad. so,
No
so,
big deal.
but it
It's all
worked
part
out,
of it.
and hopefully Erica and Kenyon can join us on the next one or one in the near future, and maybe we'll get some more guests going as well, and maybe bring back some old guests. That'd be cool as well.
Yeah.
I ran
Yeah.
into uh, I ran into our friends over at Risen Warrior. I was trying to think where I was at,
Oh,
but with
yeah.
Risen Warrior, yeah. So I ran into them at a Mexican restaurant, get some Mexican food one
Okay.
day. So I want to give them a shout out, say hi. It's good seeing you guys. I know you're
Yeah. Hey,
listening.
risenwarrior.com. They
Yeah.
have amazing flavors over there. They're always running great flavors of coffee, and Turk and Swagger at checkout gets you 10% off. So
Yeah.
go
Well,
check
we
them out.
rolled right into that one. Nice.
Absolutely, we did.
Dude, you should get into You
Absolutely.
should really get into marketing.
I don't have the degree, but maybe I should go back to school. Maybe not.
Nah, nah. So
Well, I guess, all I have to say is kind of a recap. We've got stuff going on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the whole array of things. We've got different forms of content coming out that I think y'all are going to like. We have, like I said, plans for books, 2 and 3 maybe coming out this year. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening, so I encourage you guys to follow. Like, share, and subscribe is what they always say, right? So if you could do that, that'd be great. Also, we have the website spinningourgears.com that has a contact us link on there. It is huge. We'd love hearing from you guys. It kind of keeps the fire moving. So feel free to head over there and click the contact us link and shoot us an email, and maybe you'll get brought up in the next show. So
yeah.
otherwise, I would encourage everyone, please, to go out and do something good for your fellow man or woman. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be, a random stranger you see on the sidewalk, say, hey, have a nice day, something like that. So please go do something nice for your fellow man or woman, and stay safe, because we'll get to this together.